welcome. Appreciate you coming out. My name's Neil Patterson. I work for IBM. I'm marketing manager there. And I am also chair for the Jakarta EE Marketing Committee. Wanted to give you an update on where we stand with Jakarta EE as we are looking at 2025. So our agenda today is just a brief review. It will be very brief of the history of Jakarta EE. I'm going to invite Reza to provide us with some information about Jakarta EE 11, some updates there, and what's happening as we move forward. I'll take a look at interest group that we started up called Jakarta EE Future Directions, and how you can get involved there, kind of what our idea is about the interest group and how we can impact the future. And then we'll finally look at how you can contribute to Jakarta EE and Jakarta EE 12. There are lots of ideas that are coming forward, and we want to make sure that you have all the resources you need to be able to contribute. And the most important part will be feedback. So, how do we engage better? How do we make sure that the community is being heard? How do we make sure the community is providing the input we need to make Jakarta EE as good as it can be? So, just as I say, a very brief review. 2017, Java EE Technologies moved to the Eclipse Foundation under the banner of the Jakarta EE brand. That included everything that was needed for the Jakarta EE brand to move forward: specifications, the APIs, TCK, and then, of course, contributed compatible implementations started to emerge. Our latest Jakarta EE specification or release specifications include is Jakarta EE 10, which introduced things like the Jakarta EE Core Profile, CDI Lite, some new capabilities. So we're really encouraged about the direction that we're going in. We're starting to see new capabilities being introduced, and as you'll see with Jakarta EE 11, there are even more things that are happening, and some exciting updates to being able to future-proof our ability to release Jakarta EE with TCK work. The great thing about Jakarta EE is moving into the Eclipse Foundation, and with Java EE moving in as Jakarta EE, is the breadth and depth of support that is being given to Jakarta EE by the backing of strategic members, participating members, enterprise members, and guest members, and the broader community that is emerging that is going to have an impact on how we move forward, making the enterprise edition of Java a going concern right through the future. Java is seen as a language that has some history to it, unlike some of the more recent languages that are becoming popular, but Java also has some very valuable technology benefits that other languages don't have, and we believe that moving forward with Jakarta EE is going to be the right direction for major applications into the future. To date, this is an indication of where we've come from. The initial Java EE 8 release coming into and becoming Jakarta EE 8, then moving into 9.x, where we changed the namespace, and then finally Jakarta EE 10 released with new capabilities, and Jakarta EE 11, which is looking like it's going to come out in December of this year. So with that, I'm just going to give a couple of sentences. Jakarta EE 11 has a goal of increasing developer productivity and performance. We're basing on Java 17 and with optimizations around Java 21. And we also have a way forward, as I mentioned, the refactoring of the TCK and the future-proofing of our ability to deliver. That's ongoing work, and we've got a way forward to be able to deliver Jakarta 11 in December, the December timeframe, as I mentioned. And I'd like to invite Rezap to say a few more things.
Okay, Neil, since I didn't look at the slides before, this is the only one for 11? Okay, all right. So I'm not going to talk to the slides too much. You know, sadly enough, I know way too much about this stuff than anybody, you know, probably cares to admit. Okay. So as Neil mentioned, this Jakarta 11 is an important one, as is Jakarta E10, right? So we laid the foundations of sort of getting things done as of Jakarta E9.1, including the namespace transition. So 10 and 11 really is our opportunity to demonstrate to the ecosystem and our users that this thing is alive, right? So we need to begin delivering new functionality. We need to make things interesting and useful. And to some extent, Jakarta E10 definitely does that. I won't go into too many details of that, but I will talk to you a little bit about what it precisely is in Jakarta 11. I will tell you, in my opinion, it's all in all a modest critical release, right? So in other words, there's not a whole bunch of changes. You know, by Java EE standard, it's probably one of the smaller releases that we've had, but it's an important release in the sense that it does close some important gaps. What are those? Number one is that it is actually baselining on Java SE17 and Java SE21. As some of you know, there's some important changes in Java SE17, namely records. So basically what happened was bunch of the specs, specifically CDI, bean validation, and JPA, amongst others, really retrofitted themselves to make sure that they can work with Java SE records. Obviously, you folks know out there that it is going to take off, right? So it's a very useful construct in many cases in your applications. So that, I think, was a very good change across, you know, sort of cross-cutting change across a bunch of different specifications. I'm sad to say one miss is JSON binding, which I hope we will fix pretty soon, and I am on Oracle's case, who is the spec lead for JSON binding, to get that addressed rather than later. The other one is virtual threads, right? So as we know, in 17, sort of the marquee keynote feature is virtual threads. So Jakarta EE concurrency is where most of that change belongs. So there are some changes that happened there to adapt to virtual threads. And I hope to see, you know, some stuff that is at the runtime level. So Helidon is a good example of that, where they actually allow their entire threading system to be changed from sort of traditional threads into virtual threads altogether. So that's the work that's runtime, but at least from the API standpoint in Jakarta 11, we've addressed that. Some other important stopgap things, primarily along the lines of CDI alignment. So now you can inject entity managers into any CDI beans and make use of them. Previously, you could really only do that in a thread-safe manner inside of EJBs. There's some nice CDI alignment went on in concurrency. Now we can inject a lot of the concurrency constructs using @inject. Previously, believe it or not, you can only do that via @resource. And there's some other things of that nature, you know, that are more along the lines of, you know, enabling CDI across the platform more and more. And we actually still have some gaps around that as well, but at least we made some progress there. Some really nice changes in persistence, actually long pending, rather long list. I think if you actually listed everything out, it's almost 50 changes that are in the Jakarta EE persistence specification. I think most users of Jakarta persistence will agree that those are good positive changes for sure, and they're useful changes. And I have to admit, the brightest spot probably in Jakarta 11 is that we actually finally do have a net new specification after a while, right? Really the only net new specification since Java E8, which has been quite a few years now. Namely Jakarta data, and I think, yeah, again, this is a very important one. It closes a critical gap. So if you're used to using Spring Data JPA or Delta Spike data module, this is basically a standardized and actually much improved version of that. There's a bona fide reason to actually take a look at Jakarta Data, even if you happen to be, let's say, Spring Data JPI users. In my opinion, they've learned lessons from those things, and they've sort of one-upped it, right? They made a more up-to-date and better version of all of those things. So I think we need to do more of this, in my opinion, right? So going forward, we need to do not just the kind of stuff that we've done in EE10 and EE11. We need to do more than that, right? So we need to do what we've done, which was stay up to date with Java SE, close the standardization gaps with CDI. But I think going forward in EE12, I hope that we will not only do the basics, but do more than just the basics, and hopefully have a release that excites people rather than simply says, okay, we're doing the bare minimum that we absolutely need to do to keep the platform relevant. So with that, I'm going to give it back to Neil.
Thanks, Reza. Appreciate it. So yeah, some exciting things happening with Jakarta E11, and we do look forward to being able to enhance that as we look into future releases. One of the things that we looked at was how do we look longer term than just the next release? How do we consider, two years out, 5 years out? What is the direction that we can take Jakarta EE in? And so we formed an interest group. First meeting ideally would have been before this, but it'll happen next week. And the objective really is to bring a broader community together than just the working group or the people that contribute to Jakarta EE already. We want to get more users of the technology, more people that are involved in even other languages that have ideas that could enhance what we're doing with Jakarta EE. And so our objective is to generate excitement about the future and look longer term to be able to support that future vision. As I said, we're looking for a broader community to participate, come up with ideas. Those ideas will be directed into the working group and the different specifications or whatever the organization is. It could even involve marketing, right? So there might be some ideas about marketing Jakarta EE that others have that we would want to bring forward to the Jakarta EE marketing team. So that's the reason why the interest group was formed, and we invite you to participate. There's a link on this slide. I'll make the slides available later to be able to participate, and we can discuss that more as we move forward in this discussion. Contributing to Jakarta EE, there are many ways to get involved. There's the get involved link on our Jakarta EE website. I'll explore that in a couple of minutes. Just take us over to the site and explore a few of these things. There's the interest group participation, as I mentioned. And then we just recently, this month in fact, released the 2024 developer survey. We have our report, and that is available for reading and sharing, and so I invite you to do that. And then there's social media. We would love to be able to engage with you through LinkedIn, through X, through Mastodon, YouTube. We're actually finding a really good audience on YouTube for Jakarta EE topics. A lot of uptake on those on the videos that we're releasing. So wherever you participate in social media, we can connect and have discussions. You can see what's going on, and we invite you to participate there. So with that, I'd really like to get to a feedback area where what are some of the things that are you looking at? What are some of the ideas that you'd like to hear about? Some of the things that are going on with Jakarta EE overall, and provide some feedback to us. So open it up for discussion. Does anything come to mind? Next week, Wednesday. Yeah, so there'll be an invitation that goes out to the interest group community, and then I'll send it out to the all of the organization, working group, and mailing lists. But we also, as I said, we want to broaden it, so we'll do social media as well, talking about it. It may take some time to get people fully engaged, but we'll kick it off next week. Right.
So I would like us to, if possible, send it to that membership that we like, and please, share more that. Like I think we should CC her so she can help us additionally reach out to those other communities.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So
right.
That's something that we can share with Java user groups and actual individuals as well, so anyone can join.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they do need an Eclipse ID, but that's easy to come by, and then they can just.
So in terms of the membership, just for our own understanding, organizations can be members of the interest group. However, individuals can participate in all open meetings. And from what I understand, Neil and members who are part of the interest group at the moment have full intention of having all the meetings open for individuals.
That's correct. So all the meetings of the interest group will be open to all participants. There's no reason to close it off. We're talking about future directions, and so ideas are welcome by all contributors. One of the things that I think it will be beneficial. You talked about other Eclipse parts of the Eclipse Foundation working groups and so on. Just that talk earlier today on CRY-U and CRAC, and that very interested in how that the stack of Java working together provides larger benefits. And so if there are people working on Java SE who have ideas about how at the enterprise level maybe some of their ideas could be brought forward, that would be ideal as well. So.
I was asking about the participation in the group, because there's lots of Java user groups, especially here, that we've met a lot of leaders, a lot of people that get involved, and I think if we can let them know that these things are happening, that they can join those meetings, that those are not closed behind the doors, that those decisions are not being made without the input that we actually really need their input. I think we need to be really loud about that.
Yep.
So I think it's also important to say that interest groups cannot make any decisions per
Right.
se.
Yeah.
You can only, with the group, can decide on what suggestions will be put forward to technical people who actually are in the position to make decisions.
Yes.
Right.
Just because people sometimes get sensitive about the language.
Yep.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
I clarify that. And also I wanted to point out that we do want very structured meetings so we can actually kind of come out with some
Concrete results. Yep.
concrete suggestions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't want to throw around the ideas
Yeah.
without any structure. No, that's correct. So advance what we're going to be discussing. If there are, again, we are at the very beginning, so it
Yeah.
we don't know necessarily how it's going to go, but if there will be specific topics that there would be of interest for specific groups, it would be great to get it out there for them beforehand, so they may not be willing or have time to attend every single time, but this specific one they could, and then we can make more noise about it. So we do get feedback from people that are actually really caring about that.
Yeah.
So I think, like, my suggestion would be to have these open documents.
Yes.
Where people can actually put their thoughts together.
Right. And to your point, in terms of structuring the meeting, yes, having, an idea of what the agenda is going into it so that people can decide whether it's beneficial for them to participate. That'll be one thing. The other thing related to how we structure the ideas, it will be very important for us to have a good structure to, how we lay out the definition of the idea, the justification for the idea, so that we can make as good a case as possible when we submit it to the working group committees to, persuade, right? That's our sole purpose, is to make recommendations, have persuasive ideas. They can choose to accept them or not. And based on sort of the ideas that are coming forward, we can also have a prioritized list of things we're working through.
Yeah, and I guess it's also if things are rejected, then we also have a good sort of process there why they were rejected. So again, like Tanya mentioned, some people may get a bit sensitive, but then we've got the reasoning why some things get rejected or they don't necessarily make the suggestion in this particular area, because obviously I think the more people, organizations will be involved, hopefully the more feedback and suggestions we'll be getting.
Right.
But that we can cater for all of them at the same time.
Yeah. The nice thing is we actually have an initial set of ideas that were put forward as we were kind of looking at forming the interest group, and that can seed our conversations, and I'm sure it'll spur other ideas that as we get more people participating. So looking forward to it, certainly.
Question.
Yes.
Or suggestion, always whatever you want. As a individual contributor, whatever. So one thing is that it would be very nice to have a page to, like, this is how you get started, this is how you're getting in, or something somewhere to get started. Because I would say I'm kind of involved into a lot of things, but I still have no idea how to be part of that. Right? And the other thing is also, is there some kind of forms? I don't know. Well, I'm not asking for yet another Slack, but anything where we can actually discuss it, or like mailing list, whatever. So they get not just documents. Documents are nice, but just talk and get more interest and involve more people.
That's a great idea as well. Collaborative, interaction through Slack would be reasonable. Go ahead.
So Neil, one of the things I'm observing more and more is somehow we've managed to silo ourselves into these weird silos in the working group, right? It's the technical people that make decisions, or it's the marketing people that give input, but they don't have any.
Right.
This is all, honestly, symptoms of organizational dysfunction. So I would like to see if we can solve this. One idea, or one way of solving this problem is that these supposed technical people that are ultimately making decisions, why not have those people included in the thing to begin with?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, to Reza's point, I think we can make an overt invitation to the people that are effectively leading those groups as well. That it's in their it's in our best interest, but it's in their best interest too to be involved early. Yeah.
So my immediate suggestion is in those emails that you send out to all the platform team as well, which includes
Right.
all the technical people.
Right. Great point. To your point about getting involved, we do have, on the Jakarta EE site, different aspects of, get involved page, that, joining conversation, contributing, becoming a committer, all of those things related to Jakarta EE in general. We will add something related to the interest group and getting involved there. There are some instructions about that on the page dedicated to the interest group as well, including our objectives and stuff.
We'll just go a little bit down. There is the mailing list.
Yes.
Right there.
Yeah.
So it is there, and I suggest if it makes sense here, that in our Jakarta development Slack workspace, we just organize a channel, Jakarta future directions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If it's not getting used, then you disregard. But at least it's open and we can put it in the general, like whoever is
Right.
interested in discussions, you can join this channel.
Yeah, the tightrope we walk is that we want much broader participation from other organizations, but we still want to be able to flow in and participate well as a member of the Jakarta EE working group, right? So, yeah, I agree. The mailing list is a great start. We can get you integrated into the group. We can also have a Slack channel where people can interact on a more regular basis. I know I depend on Slack more than email, so it's a. But I also know people who live in their inbox and don't look at Slack at all. So it's we all work differently, right? So.
You raised quite an interesting issue by saying, oh, you didn't know it's there, like this, all of this information, and it is there, and because we know, we deal with some, we know about it, so I think it's super important that those of us, whether individuals or companies that are already members of the interest group, that we share as much information about it through our channels, to our audiences, because we obviously are able to reach different groups. Because for us it's obvious it's there, but again, unless you end up on the website, you won't know, and there's so much information out
Yeah,
there.
to be honest, it's on me, right, because I didn't look. But then,
But there's most people are like, we're all busy, we don't necessarily, unless we need it, we will look then, but I think if we get it out there, so that's again, with my marketing hat on, I'm thinking we have to make noise about it as individuals and as companies, because it's of interest to all of us, for as many people to know about
it's
it.
either you look for it or it's somebody shoves it in your
Yes,
face.
or you see it, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
even like, now I'm thinking I should have probably mentioned it yesterday, and I should have been mentioning to people that I was talking to, so I will be from now on, and it's one of those calls to action that I think we all should remember that we should be adding anywhere we can, because at the end of the day, the more voices we've got for this, the better for all of us.
Right. Speaking of getting the news out, I know there's a flyer for the developer survey that I mentioned. Again, a lot of great information coming out of that survey and or report, and yeah. So, well, if there's nothing else, I can give us all a few minutes back. But thank you for your time.
Get this out there.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks.